Have you ever stopped to think why, even working hard, studying, achieving a stable job, and buying that dream house, many people still can't have financial freedom? That's where the great trap of the traditional system comes in. The system teaches us from an early age that the formula for a successful life is simple: study hard, get a good job, buy a house with financing, and if possible, have a car or two. It seems logical, doesn't it? But here's the detail that almost nobody tells you. This recipe creates dependency on salary and credit and makes you work 30, 40 years waiting for retirement, often without really enjoying life. Imagine a person who wakes up every day at 6 in the morning, faces heavy traffic, works long hours, and at the end of the month realizes that their money disappears between bills, installments, and small daily expenses. The effort is enormous, but the real return, almost none. This happens because the system was made for you to exchange time for money and never learn to make money work for you. The problem is that this trap is disguised as stability and security. When you think you're secure, you're actually trapped in an endless cycle of financial dependency. Salary goes up, but so do expenses. Credit seems like a solution, but generates debt. Retirement is distant, and financial freedom remains out of reach. And this is exactly where many people stumble, believing that following the traditional path automatically leads to wealth. Spoiler, it doesn't. Working hard is important, but without strategy, financial education, and investment, you just become part of a machine that keeps money away from you. If you're enjoying this video and want to receive more content that really teaches how to escape this financial trap, like this video and subscribe to the channel right now. Many people confuse ostentation with real wealth. Have you ever seen those people who drive luxury cars, take photos on expensive trips, and live surrounded by designer clothes? At first glance, it seems they're rich. But here's the big trap: appearance is not financial freedom. People who spend to impress are often living on the edge. They seem to have everything, but in reality, they're trapped by credit cards, loans, and expenses they can barely control. Each sophisticated purchase, each luxury, is a reminder that their money isn't working for them. It's just circulating, coming and going, without generating wealth. Now, compare that with someone who invests from an early age, even with small amounts. This person may not have the most expensive car or the most luxurious trip now, but they're building real financial freedom. Investing consistently, buying assets that generate income, or even creating small businesses means that, in the future, money works for you. And that's what defines who is really rich. It's not what you show others, but what you silently build for yourself. The difference is clear. Looking rich impresses the world. Being rich guarantees security, freedom, and choices. And the best part, the sooner you understand this and start investing instead of spending to impress, the sooner you stop living the life the system planned for you and start living the life you really want. To better understand the difference between spending to look rich and investing to become rich, let's follow the story of 3 lawyers, all graduated from the same class, with similar salaries but completely different financial paths. The first lawyer lived to impress. He bought expensive cars, designer clothes, frequented luxury restaurants, and took elaborate trips. Abroad, his photos caused envy, but he had no savings, no investments. Each salary increase only served to sustain an increasingly expensive lifestyle. In the end, he seemed rich, but was actually always on the verge of financial difficulties. The second lawyer was more cautious. He saved part of his salary, but didn't know how to invest. He kept money in savings or let it accumulate in his checking account. Although he had less debt than the first, he also wasn't building real wealth. His money simply sat there, and the years passed without generating significant financial growth. The third lawyer had a completely different mindset. He set aside 20% of his salary to invest in a small business, simple but well structured. Over time, this business began to generate passive income. That is, money coming in without him having to work directly for it. While the other two remained trapped in the cycle of spending or stagnation, he advanced toward financial freedom, building solid and secure wealth. The big lesson here is clear. It doesn't matter how much you earn. What really makes a difference is how you use your money. Investing consistently, even in something simple, can generate extraordinary results, while spending just to impress keeps you trapped in the consumer race. Many people believe that earning more money will automatically solve all financial problems. The truth is quite different. It's not how much you earn, but how you think about money and how you use it that defines whether you'll be truly rich. Imagine two people with the same salary. One continues spending everything they receive, buying things to impress others, increasing expenses with each salary increase. The other uses the same amount strategically, saves, invests, and seeks passive income opportunities. Who do you think will be closer to financial freedom in 5 or 10 years? Exactly, the second person. Financial mindset is about prioritizing wealth building instead of consumption. It's understanding that every dollar saved or invested is a step toward freedom, while every impulsive expense keeps you trapped in the routine of depending on your salary. This way of thinking changes everything. Instead of working just to pay bills, you work to create assets that work for you. True wealth is not measured by the car, the house, or the clothes, but by the freedom you conquer and the control over your own life. And this freedom starts in the mind, in how you view money, opportunities, and financial decisions. Many people think that investing and building wealth is something only for those who have a lot of money. But the truth is that starting small is totally possible. You don't need large sums to take the first steps toward financial freedom. Imagine a single mother who starts selling homemade sweets on weekends. At first, it's just a few dollars coming in, but she decides to save a part and reinvest in production. Over time, the business grows, generates consistent income, and opens opportunities that previously seemed impossible. Or think of that worker who, every month, sets aside just $50 from his salary to invest in small businesses or courses that improve his skills. After a few years, this accumulated and reinvested amount already begins to generate real returns, while many of his colleagues who spent everything they received remain trapped in the same routine. The secret is consistency. A little today, reinvested tomorrow, multiplied later. Starting small is not an excuse not to start. It's the safest way to build solid and sustainable wealth. There is a silent enemy that destroys financial dreams: lifestyle inflation. Every time the salary goes up, many proportionally increase their spending, and this eliminates any chance of accumulating wealth. Buying a bigger car, moving to a more expensive apartment, frequenting more sophisticated restaurants, all of this seems rewarding, but in practice prevents you from saving or investing. It's what we call the lifestyle trap. You earn more, but remain in the same place financially. The real challenge is learning to control the impulse to spend more with each income increase. Those who manage to maintain simplicity and direct extra earnings toward investments, courses, or businesses create a solid path toward financial freedom. Let's bring this to real life. Imagine two work colleagues. One receives a raise and immediately changes his lifestyle, buys new clothes, subscribes to expensive services, frequents sophisticated restaurants. His extra money disappears almost instantly. The other colleague receives the same raise, but keeps his expenses almost the same. He decides to invest the extra in small businesses, courses, or assets that generate income. A few years later, he already has real wealth and financial freedom, while the first colleague remains trapped in the routine of depending on salary. Simple businesses, consistent investments, and financial discipline are the true engines of financial security. You don't need to be a tycoon to achieve freedom. You need strategy, patience, and consistency. There is a clear formula that most millionaires follow, even if silently. Don't spend more with increased income. Invest more. While most people see each raise as an opportunity to elevate their standard of living, the rich see this as a chance to acquire assets that generate income. This can be a business, real estate, stocks, courses that increase your ability to generate money, or any investment that works for you. The secret is simple, but powerful. Increasing income sustainably requires prioritizing assets, not consumer goods. Every dollar directed toward an asset multiplies its value over time, while every dollar spent on consumption disappears without return. A common characteristic among truly rich people is financial discretion. They build wealth without flaunting, avoiding family and social pressures, and maintaining total focus on the growth of their assets. A practical example is Don Javier, who invested discreetly for years in real estate and small businesses. Today, he has a solid portfolio of properties generating passive income, but maintains a simple life without needing to display wealth. Even big names like Warren Buffett show that it's possible to be a millionaire without living to impress. True wealth is invisible to others, but totally tangible for those who build it. The next step is to learn to multiply your wealth silently. Each gain, each saving, should be reinvested in businesses, courses, assets, or investments that generate return. Avoiding flaunting income or financial achievements is not about modesty, it's about strategy. The magic happens over time. Compound interest, constant reinvestment, and discipline make even small amounts grow exponentially. What seems slow at first becomes consistent and secure growth over the years. It's the silent multiplication that transforms small efforts into real financial freedom without needing to show anyone. Depending only on salary is a huge risk. Even if you have a stable job and earn well, the reality is that unforeseen events happen. Recession, staff cuts, company problems. Anything can affect your main income. That's why income diversification is essential to guarantee financial security. Having multiple income sources doesn't necessarily mean working more hours. It means using your creativity and resources to create money flows that work for you. It can be a small side business, reselling products, offering services you master, or investing in assets that generate passive income. Let's imagine an example. An office professional decides to open a small online store selling handmade products on weekends. Initially, it's little, a few sales per month. But he reinvests the profit, learns from mistakes, improves marketing, and in a few years, this business becomes a solid complement to his salary. Another case, someone with specific skills, like electronics repair or language lessons, can offer their services freelance. This extra money, when invested in assets or saved, begins to generate security and freedom. The key is to understand that each small income source adds layers of financial protection. Don't depend on a single money flow. The more diversified, the more resistant you become to unforeseen events, and the faster you can build real wealth. Many people think that investing is something reserved for those who already have large sums of money. But the truth is that any amount, however small, can start working for you as long as there is discipline and strategy. Imagine someone who decides to save just $10 or $20 per week. At first, it seems little, almost insignificant. But if this amount is invested intelligently, whether in small businesses, stocks, funds, or even courses that increase their skills, it begins to generate return and multiply over time. The secret is not in the initial amount, but in persistence and consistency. A little today, reinvested tomorrow, accumulated over months and years, creates a solid wealth foundation. Many millionaires started exactly like this, with little, but with vision for the future. Let's think of real examples. A mother who works part-time and saves a small amount per week. After a few years, She manages to invest in a small business or in assets that generate passive income, completely changing her financial life. Or a young worker who decides to save 5% of his salary every month and invest in courses and tools that increase his productivity and income. Over time, he achieves results that previously seemed impossible. The crucial point is not to wait to have much to start. Discipline, determination, and a growth mindset are infinitely more important than the initial amount. Investing little today is planting seeds that, with patience and consistency, will become trees that will generate lasting financial fruits. Building wealth doesn't depend on great strokes of luck or a high salary. It depends on consistency and how you reinvest your resources. Even small amounts, when applied continuously and strategically, begin to generate significant results over time. The process is simple but powerful. Each gain, however small, should be directed towards something that can generate return. It can be a small business, a course that increases your capacity to generate income, or assets that pay interest or dividends. The central point is that money never stays idle. It needs to work and multiply. A concrete example, someone who monthly reinvests the profit from a small online store, or the return from simple investments. Over time, the accumulated capital grows, and each reinvestment generates more return, creating a cumulative effect. This continuous cycle of saving, investing, and reinvesting is what transforms small amounts into relevant wealth, without depending on great risks or luck. In the end, consistency combined with reinvestment creates a solid financial structure capable of generating income independently, protecting the individual from unforeseen events and guaranteeing stability over the years. Have you ever stopped to think why, even working hard, studying and achieving a stable job, many people never manage to achieve financial freedom? The answer lies in the trap of the traditional system. The system teaches us from an early age that the recipe for success is simple. Study, get a good job, buy a financed house, and, if possible, a car or two. But this recipe creates dependency on salary and credit, making you work 30, 40 years waiting for retirement without really having control over your life. Imagine waking up every day early, facing heavy traffic and long hours, and realizing that, at the end of the month, your money disappears between bills and small expenses. This is the cycle that keeps most people trapped. And within this cycle, there is another trap, the confusion between looking rich and being rich. Many people spend to impress: expensive cars, designer clothes, luxurious trips, and seem prosperous but don't have real wealth. In contrast, those who invest from an early age, even with small amounts, are building true financial freedom. Appearance impresses the world, but only real assets give security and choices. To illustrate, see the story of 3 lawyers from the same class with similar salaries. The first spent everything on luxury and appearance, always on the edge, without savings or investments. He seemed rich, but lived dependent on salary. The second saved partially, but didn't invest, leaving money idle. Time passed, but his wealth didn't grow. The third allocated 20% of his salary to invest in a small business. Over time, he generated passive income and built solid wealth, advancing toward financial freedom. This brings us to the central lesson. Mindset matters more than salary. Earning more doesn't solve anything if you keep spending everything. True wealth comes from building assets, not from consuming more. It's how you think and use money that defines your financial future. And even if you only have a little to invest at first, starting small is possible. Stories of single mothers selling sweets or workers saving small amounts prove that any consistent start, however small, generates growth over time. An invisible enemy also needs to be avoided: lifestyle inflation. Each salary increase can lead to new expenses, nullifying gains and creating unnecessary debts. Those who maintain simplicity and direct extra resources toward investments build solid wealth, while those who increase spending remain trapped in the routine of depending on salary. We see clear examples in real life. Employees who increased income and spent more versus others who maintained discipline and invested. Small businesses and consistent investments can generate financial security without depending on employment. The formula that the rich follow is simple. Don't spend more with increased income. Invest more. Prioritizing assets that generate income instead of consumer goods is the secret to sustainable growth. Additionally, financial discretion is a common characteristic among truly rich people. Don Javier, for example, invested discreetly in real estate and small businesses, creating passive income without flaunting. Warren Buffett is another example that true wealth doesn't need to be visible. The next stage is silent multiplication, reinvesting gains and savings in businesses, courses, or assets without flaunting achievements. Compound interest and small investments grow consistently, transforming small amounts into real wealth. To protect yourself from unforeseen events, it's essential to diversify income. Depending only on salary is risky. Small businesses, product resale, or practical skills generate multiple income sources, increasing security and financial autonomy. And even if you have little money, investing is always possible. Any amount saved, if applied consistently, grows over time. Determination and discipline are more important than the initial amount. Finally, consistency and reinvestment are the foundation of wealth building. Each gain should be directed towards something that generates return, creating a cycle of continuous growth. Even small amounts applied strategically accumulate and multiply over the years, forming a solid and independent financial structure. Building financial freedom is not about earning more money, nor about flaunting goods or following ready-made formulas that promise instant wealth. True wealth is born from using what you have strategically, directing each gain, however small, towards something that truly generates return in the future. Each investment, each small business or acquired skill is a concrete step toward financial autonomy. The key lies in consistency and discipline. Even small savings applied intelligently multiply over time. Ordinary people who started with little managed to transform small actions into solid wealth. Whether a mother selling homemade products, a worker reinvesting part of their salary, or a young person applying small amounts in courses and businesses. All these examples show that it's not how much you start with, but how you start and maintain the habit that makes the difference. Another important point is to diversify your income sources. Don't depend only on salary. Having small additional sources, a side business, product resale, service provision, or investments, creates security and protects you from unforeseen events. Each new income source functions as an extra layer of stability, allowing you to build wealth even in times of crisis or unexpected changes. Controlling lifestyle is equally essential. Each salary increase doesn't need to translate into more spending. By directing extra resources toward investments and assets that generate income, you create a cycle of silent multiplication, where money works for you and grows without you needing to depend on luck or great opportunities. In the end, financial freedom is about making intelligent decisions, even small ones, consistently over time. It's about thinking long-term, planning, diversifying, and reinvesting each gain, building a solid foundation that guarantees autonomy, security, and life choices. Those who adopt this mindset don't depend on the traditional system and don't need to worry only about salary or credit. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more strategies to build wealth, protect your assets, and escape the salary race, don't forget to like, share with friends and family, and stay tuned for the next videos, where we'll detail even more practical methods to transform small actions into real financial freedom.